Just to start off, obviously yesterday, first day of the ramp-up period. Structurally we're under, some time limit constraints. So as we move forward, you guys will feel the practices get longer and longer, but that's all part of the plan that the league has for us, which we really do. I really do think it's a good thing. It kind of puts a governor on us early on and not come out here and go crazy as we kind of build up to obviously Saturday, getting the fans out here, which I can't even imagine how awesome that will be. One of the best setups, if not the best, I've ever been around for training camp. So I'm unbelievably excited for that. And then obviously we'll be able to put the pads on that following Monday. Just to give you guys a little bit of an update on a couple players, because I know I said, outside of our two pup players, we were pretty much ready to go. Obviously Nate Hairston, that's a day-to-day thing. We should get him back very shortly. But we just wanted to give him an opportunity to kind of go at his own pace and make sure he's good and ready to go. And then obviously Jordan Hicks with the non-COVID illness, that's kind of day-to-day, minute-to-minute at this point. I tend on that stuff to defer to people who are much smarter than me, our doctors, our medical team, who do a great job. But the biggest thing is it's a ramp-up period. We got to understand that. There's no reason in the world. Jordan's done everything we've asked, both when we've had him and throughout the summer to be ready to go. So we'll be excited to get him back when that happens, but we'll keep you guys posted as kind of the days go on. But he will not practice today. And with that, I'll open it up to you guys.
In terms of Nate, since it's non-football, what happened to him? How did he get hurt?
Yeah, he's just got a little kind of ankle deal, kind of lower leg ankle deal, some soreness in there. Tyler and Uriah just want to be extra cautious just because knowing what we have out in front of us, no need to push him too early and turn a short-term setback into any kind of longer deal.
How do you like this weather so far, and what's the ideal conditions for practice?
I'll tell you what, when I got back, in early July from California, some of those days, I had kind of the schedule set long before that, and then I got back and felt a little bit one of the more warmer days and quickly came in and put together an alternate schedule that if we ever need that, you guys will know that exists to make sure. But obviously we're going to have some games and some real warm temperatures, so we're going to try to stress that to our players to be prepared, be hydrated. But as far as it goes, this weather's been unbelievable. What a start to training camp.
For the wrap-up period, do you adjust your expectations? I mean, just kind of like slowly getting them. I know you said this is now the competitive phase of camp, but is it not really until Saturday? How do you look at that?
It's a great question. I think that was the best part about yesterday is just how clean the execution was. We have officials out here, very limited penalties, guys knowing where to line up and what to do. And we are full speed in all of our phases, even though we're only still in helmets. But to find out, really for one of the first times, our team knows how to practice. And we were able to highlight that with some clips from last night in the team meeting just to re-emphasize, A, they did a great job with it, but the consistency to show back up and do it again today, as this will be kind of our last helmets only in the ramp up before we get to wear kind of some soft protective shells tomorrow as we kind of continue moving forward. But we are aware of it, but as far as the competition phase, that's begun and it's already rolling.
Kevin, one of the things Jefferson said yesterday is he's not too fond of money, just talking about his contract and stuff. It seems kind of unique to hear players that. Just from a personality standpoint, what have you learned about him as you're getting to know him just as a human being and the kind of guy you're working with?
Yeah, first and foremost, I think it just talks about where his mindset is, between the lines this year and really the short-term focus of just making sure he was ready to go yesterday. I can tell he had a great offseason. That's one of the things you can take care of these guys when they're here, but to a man on our football team, I think I shared this earlier this week, we've got some guys that not only left here in great shape, but came back in even better shape. He's obviously one of those guys, but his mindset is exactly where I want it to be for still a somewhat younger player, the success that he's had, for him to kind of understand, the way to handle all of that is just to continue doing what he's always done since he's become a Minnesota Viking on the field. So it was great to hear that, but ultimately, Justin, he's, absolutely one of my favorites for a lot of reasons, but just the type of connection him and I have already built, it means a lot to me and something I don't take for granted.
Kevin, in practice, the duties for a position coach, coordinator is pretty focused.
Yep.
What you have to do, your assignments. As a head coach, when you head out here, being new to this, what are your duties? What are you looking to do?
Yeah, I try to bounce around as much as possible. I find myself still kind of gravitating towards those quarterbacks and wideouts and tight ends, but I think for me, I'm excited to get around the defense, get around, Durante when he's running drills, and just hear, obviously I hired a lot of these coaches and all these coaches for a reason, and it's so cool to walk around and just experience them all in their own ways, unique ways of coaching and teaching, and we joke about it, but some of the best moments and real coaching, in my opinion, takes place out on these fields when we can have those, interactions and then watch a guy improve from rep to rep. I mean, I think of a rep, that comes to mind yesterday. Amir, runs a route early on in the first rack of plays. I hear Keenan talking to him about how he could do it better, and then about 30 and 40 minutes later, similar kind of different concept, but similar route for him. He absolutely nails it. And that's just an example of a guy taking one rep, being able to be coachable, and then obviously, applying that without having to come in, watch the tape, go home and study, okay, this is what I need to do. Coach said this. He was able to do it in real time, and that's the kind of improvement, and that's the kind of practices you need. The way an NFL season works, we'll have game plan plays. We'll have things guys may be hearing for the first time. If they're able to do that, we're going to be in great shape across the board.
Kevin, we'll talk to Kirk Cousins in a minute, but what did he kind of do between the end of minicamp and the start of training camp? Did he keep his head in the playbook a lot, and maybe is there a difference you've seen in his knowledge of the playbook, et cetera, from when spring ended and camp has started?
Absolutely. I noticed from the first quarterback meeting we had, not only Kirk but all our quarterbacks, kind of, you'll know when it starts to get there, because they, the old finish someone's sentences. When you're talking about some of our stuff, guys, you start a topic with, hey, against this pressure, and they kind of just start talking, and you just kind of let them take it from there. And his understanding, his comfort yesterday, I think that contributed, to us having a pretty clean practice across the board. And it starts with those quarterbacks in the huddle. Can they call it? Make sure we're aligned, make sure everything from a standpoint of the play clock, all of our motions, all of our shifts, all the things we do to apply pressure, those guys are in charge of all of it. I can only, speak into the headset, but once that goes in, it's their show. So he's doing a great job. All of our quarterbacks really are.
Once you get into the regular season, or maybe you're already there, but as a head coach, what kind of a week-to-week relationship exchange do you want to have with Kirk? What does a typical week look like in terms of you guys getting time together one-on-one?
Yeah, we've already started doing that, finding little time here and there throughout the day, but there's no question. I think that's one of the best things you can do, especially as a play caller. It's one thing as the head coach, whether you're on the offensive and defensive side. I think the quarterback, has to be an extension of you as a head coach. And ultimately as a play caller, when we can have that, connection that we have, and it'll be a weekly process, like you said, but we'll find time early in the week and then later in the week, because, having played the position, I didn't like when a coach called a play I didn't like. And I think that's really important. I might love something, Coach Phillips might love something, Coach O'Hara, but in the end, if the quarterback, the guy that's going to be pulling the trigger, doesn't love something, then we got plenty of plays. And I think that dialogue and understanding, and really not early on, because I challenge these guys to really absorb it all before you start making a lot of opinions about this, that, and the other. And our defense makes it hard. They make it hard where, we might have a play that we'll run 10 times this year that won't work one time in training camp, but we still have to practice it and understand that. And those guys are great about that. But it's a huge part of my relationship with him. It's great to have a starting point from our past, but ultimately that's something we'll build minute to minute and throughout the week, and finding out what works best for us and our routines.
When it comes to coaching him and putting him in the best situations possible, how much do you create that environment around coaching him before and studying film of him versus your own experience of being a quarterback and kind of knowing that other side?
Yeah, luckily I have the benefit of coaching a guy who's a heck of a lot better than I was. Which is a really good thing for the Minnesota Vikings. But I will say that, I do understand, what it looks like back there. When Danielle Hunter and Zadarius Smith are rushing the edges, and I'm asking him to throw a ball, 20, 25 yards out on the red line, we call it, but out on the sideline. But I know what that's like, and it's much harder than just, hey, see it and throw it. Sometimes you got to see over a 6'6" defensive end with long arms. So there's some grace there that I think has to exist with a position like the quarterback position. But in the end, I'm still going to coach him really hard, and the expectation is not only on a situation like that, but a lot of different ones to make the play, because our team needs it.
That's a good question. Drew had the interception yesterday, but just seeing him with no restrictions this week, what's your first impression? What stood out about watching him play?
Well, we're in helmets, and one of the things that I loved about him coming out is his willingness to be physical, tackle, but what I saw yesterday was a guy that used all those jog through reps, and he was, he wasn't, we do it for all of our players, but when you have an injured player like that can't take part in full speed reps, that jog through portion banked a lot of reps for Andrew and a lot of our other guys. So it was great to see some of those reps come to fruition. He made the play on that play. He made a lot of, plays where quarterbacks had to say no to their first progression because of where he was. It was a great start for him. And as I did yesterday, I just challenged him, can you stack that as the installations start to stack up and we asked you to do a lot more? Can you maintain? And that's really the secret for a rookie and really all of our players as we continue to throw a lot at them in a short amount of time, because we may have quite a bit of time till we cut down the roster, but we've got to install our plays to get through the competition phase to really know what we're ultimately looking at and how we're going to build our team and develop those identities. So across the board, Andrew's just a great example of a lot of our younger players showing up ready to go, and then obviously led by our veterans in that leadership group.
How do you view C.J. Ham this year? Obviously, it's a new offense for him. Do you kind of view him as a Swiss Army knife type deal as you go into this season?
Yeah, I do. I think C.J. is going to have a lot of different roles for us. He knows that, and the best part about C.J. is he can do it all. And it's one thing to be able to physically do it all, but he's probably right up there with a few of our other guys on the offensive side. If you teach him something one time, and he's got it, and he's ready to go execute that. So with that, he's learning a lot of different phases of our offense. We can only have 11 players out there at one time, but we can vary how we use our personnel, and kind of like what we talked about earlier this week, how that happens, how that comes to fruition will be determined by guys like CJ.
Last question, Kevin.
On the Booth interception, did he just, see it really ahead of time, or how did he get to that spot where he was?
He was playing the technique that Ed and Durante coach really well, and obviously, throw and catch, it's early on, we're still getting our timing down, but nonetheless, against one of the premier players at the position in our league, he was able to put his foot in the ground and go get the football, which ultimately, when you can steal a possession anytime, turning the football over, it's one of our main football philosophies that it is all about the ball, and we're going to go get that ball and try to protect that football. To see a young guy do that early on, it was very early on in practice. There was no safe feeling to how he was playing. He was playing the technique, playing it true, and he's going to get a lot of more opportunities against number 18, and we'll see how those go. Yeah, thank you guys.